What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com. And in my opinion, this is going to be one for the making as far as today's episode, especially if you're somebody that's just feeling stuck in a rut. You know, it's almost just like you're a leaf that's floating around in the wind. It almost seems like every single day is Groundhog's Day, and you're trying your hardest to make a change. Maybe you're trying to lose some body fat or build some muscle, and it seems like, life is going good for you for the short period of time. Maybe that's a few weeks, maybe that's a few months even, and hey, everything's on point. Nutrition's on point, training's on point, mindset's on point, but then eventually life seems to test you, right? And maybe that's an injury, maybe that's a curveball, maybe that's stress at work, stress at home, a sickness, anything like that. Today's episode, it's all about giving you reassurance and knowing how to, I like to say, pass these tests when they do come. And I'm going to give you guys the cheat code here that's really going to help you out to amplify your success, especially if you're on your own health and fitness journey, okay? So before we dive into some of these tests and what they look like, and before we dive into these cheat codes that's going to help you out, let me first just explain this concept to you guys to better help you understand, okay? You are never in control over your very first thoughts. Let me repeat that one more time. You are never in control over your very first thought, but you're always in control over your second thought. And that could either help us or that could either hurt us. See, at the end of the day, and this is why I tell our members all the time, it's like, hey, be the guardian of your own minds. If you're constantly waking up and you're on the news, you're on social media, you're not working on your mindset, you don't have a solid morning routine that's setting you up for success in life, it's very easy to get sucked into the norm of everybody else. And reality is, hey, over 60% of the US, right, is considered overweight, obese, right? They have struggles with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So it's like, hey, if you want to continue to do the trends, you're going to continue to just act and be just like everybody else, which is fat, lazy, out of shape, man boobs, high blood pressure, beer belly. Nobody wants that, right? Everybody wants the confidence. Everybody wants the self-esteem. Everybody wants to also feel proud of themselves and also know that, hey, they're doing the right things to become that leader, to become that role model for maybe their family members or their kids, regardless, right? Like, that's honorable, that's stoic, that's, courageous, I like to say, especially in today's age where the norm is, once again, the lazy, the fat, the out of shape, okay? So if you're waking up and you're immediately scrolling on social media, right, you're getting brainwashed into all the negativity and the comparison that's out there because let's face it, right, people are only going to put on social media their highlight reels. So you're taking your day-to-day life and you're immediately comparing it to somebody else's highlight reel. You don't know behind the scenes, right? Like everything that they're going through. They might be going through a divorce. They might be going through stress at home. They also might be somebody that, hey, they're posting pictures or videos of themselves working out and training and they're in phenomenal shape, but you don't see behind the lines, right? Like they're dialed into their training, they're dialed into their hydration, dialed into the nutrition and the sleep, the recovery, the whole nine yards. So it's like you might just look and see them and then instantly start comparing themselves, right? Or hey, you're that type of person where immediately you wake up and you flip on the news, right? So you see everything about a recession, you see everything about the economy and wars and violence, and you're immediately brainwashed into this scarcity mindset as opposed to this abundant mindset, right? And that's what I really want to help you out with, is understanding that, hey, there's going to be plenty of times where you're going to be met and dealt with these triggers in life, whether it's social media, whether it's the news, whether somebody just says something to you, right? It's going to be a trigger, okay? Now, with that being said, hey, there's nothing we can really do about that. You're not in control of your very first thought, but you're always in control over your second thought. And this is ideally what I want you guys to understand, because sometimes these triggers, this is actually coming from, let's just say, like, I don't know how to best put this out here, right? But like sometimes these triggers, they're really just tests. They're really just, little challenges to say, how bad do you actually want this? And so what I really want to help you out with to understand this a lot better, obviously, if you guys know me, you know I have a past when it comes to mixed martial arts, MMA, boxing, and most of you guys know that, hey, Mike Tyson, right? One of the greatest destroyers of all time, right? An absolute killer in the ring. He has an amazing quote that says, everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face. And that's the reality. Because right now, you might be somebody that's trying your best to lose 20, 30 pounds, right? Maybe you want to get off your medications. Maybe you want to have more energy. You want to have more confidence, more sex drive, the whole nine yards, right? And it's like you can create the perfect game plan for you. And I highly recommend that you do. And this is why like having a coach in your corner really can kind of help you out when it comes to having that GPS that's going to share with you how to get to your end destination. Because if let's say you don't know, anything about macros or training properly, you might fall into the fad diets of, hey, cut out your carbohydrates or intermittent fasting or, this next fad workout program that, hey, it's all fancy, shiny object syndrome and bells and whistles in the beginning, but it leaves a lot of false promises on the table, right? You don't actually get the results that you're looking for. So when it comes to you being successful on your health and fitness journey, you got to understand this, right? Is having this game plan. Just like when Mike Tyson says, hey, everybody has a game plan, but until they get punched in the face. So when you have the game plan that's going to help you progress on your health and fitness journey, it's also, right, very realistic to understand there's going to be some unseen variables, okay? That might be a sickness. That might be an injury. That might be travels. That might be stress at home, stress at work. Like, this is the stuff that nobody plans for. It just kind of happens, But it's all about understanding, hey, do you want to have that contenders mindset or do you want to have that champions mindset? And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit because this is going to be that cheat code that's going to help you pass the test once and for all. So if let's say you're, eating healthy, you're working out, right? You're on your health and fitness kick, you're seeing some progress, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you get an injury or maybe you get a sickness or, maybe something comes up unexpected and that's at work or that's at home and it just stresses you out. It kind of throws you off track. Well, you got to keep this in mind, right? You're a fighter, right? You are a fighter. And until you start affirming that and declaring that and believing about yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to actually start seeing success. But when you have the right form of support and accountability in your corner and people that believe in you, guess what? You're going to start believing that within yourself that, hey, you are a fighter. And what does a fighter do, right? Does a fighter just like walk into the ring, take a few punches, and then just tap out? No. Like a fighter fights back. And a fighter also rolls with the punches. There's going to be plenty of seasons of life where, hey, you got your opponent up against the ropes, right? You're crushing the weights, you're crushing the workouts, the nutrition, right? You're destroying it and you're doing great in your career. You're doing great at home with your family and you feel like, hey, life's perfect. That's a season, right? Take ownership, be grateful for those seasons, right? Because at the same time, there's going to be plenty of storms. There's going to be plenty of, winter seasons where, hey, you're got your hands up right in the back of the corner, right? You got your hands up there. You're taking these shots left to right, and you might be looking for a way out. But honestly, this is what separates the champions from the contenders. This is what separates, somebody that is, on path to having success at reaching their goals and somebody that's just average where, hey, they have like that shiny object syndrome in the beginning of the year where they're on point with the nutrition, they're on point with the training for the first couple weeks, but then eventually fell off the wagon in March, right? And year after year, it's the same old song and dance. Lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, but nothing actually permanently change, okay? And how do you make that permanent change? It's understanding that you're always in a fight. Sometimes, some seasons of life, you're winning, like I said. Other seasons of life, hey, you got your hands up. You're guarding yourself. You're learning how to roll with the punches. And it's about having that mindset to understand that, hey, there's always going to be two ends that you can look at anything in life. Anything. So if let's just say that season, right, where you have your hands up, you're learning how to roll with the punches, you want to continue to fight, you don't want to tap out because, hey, you're passionate about reaching your goals. You have a deep-rooted why as to why these goals are so important for you to have success at reaching them. Who knows? Maybe so you can live longer. Maybe you can, be a better role model for your kids. Maybe you want to be that inspiration for some of your coworkers that's out of shape. Regardless, it's about having the right mindset. And having that right mindset, especially during those storms of life, is going to help you out tenfold, right? And what is the right mindset? Well, there's two ways that you can look at it, okay? You can look at the glass being half full or the glass being half empty. And remember, you're never in control over your very first thought, but you're always in control over your second thought. So when life is throwing you curveballs, how are you viewing that challenge? Because the meaning that you're putting on that challenge, the meaning that you're putting on that situation, that storm of life, that right there, right, is probably the issue. And that means, how are you thinking? What is the second thought? So let's just say, hey, I end up rolling my ankle. Okay, we'll use that as a curveball. Okay, so everything's going good, working out, nutrition's on point, recovery's on point, life is great, but I end up rolling my ankle. Now, I could look at it from a perspective of not knowing anything about my mindset and knowing anything about like how to actually reach my goals, right? And I can look at it and just say, oh man, this is the worst thing in the world, right? Now I can't work out. I can't go to the gym. I'm going to fall off track. I'm going to go back to my old ways. So somebody's looking at that rolled ankle as the meaning, right? As what's going to project their reality. This is what I want you to do. I want you to have more of an optimistic viewpoint. I want you to have more of a, hey, let's not look at the challenge of us rolling our ankle, but let's look at the opportunity, right? Because somebody that, once again, they don't know how to roll with the punches. It's very easy for them to have that victim mentality of, oh, why me? And point the finger at somebody or somebody else, and hence why they have three fingers pointing right back at them, and they never have success. I want you to be successful. So what do you need to do? You need to view that challenge and put a different meaning on it. You need to view it as just a little pivot, right? Just a little redirect, right? That's on that GPS that's still getting to your end destination. And how do we go about doing that? We look at it differently from a different lens, right? We look at the glass being half full rather than half empty. We affirm to ourselves, hey, everything is working out in our favor, and right? Like we're still on track with our goals. It's just a little bump in the road. But what is the opportunity there, right? Rather than looking at it as a challenge, what is the opportunity? So maybe the opportunity, right, is, hey, I rolled my ankle, but you know what? Maybe I can dial more in on the nutrition. Maybe I can focus more on my mindset. Maybe I can still go to the gym and work more on my upper body. Maybe I can do some other things, right, as to just roll with the punches until my ankle heals, rather than be that person that just goes back to their old ways and falls off track. And then they wonder why they never have success. It's because when they dealt with a curveball, when they're dealt with a storm, the meaning that they're putting on it, that's what's automatically going to, change into the reality. So for you to have success at reaching your goals, anytime that there's a curveball in your life, hey, change the meaning. Look at it as an opportunity rather than a challenge, right? And this is what separates, once again, the champions from the contenders. It's called willpower, right? If there's a will, there's a way. If you look at, let's say, Mike Tyson or Kobe Bryant or Michael, Jordan, any of these guys, right? The meccas when it comes to the elite athletes, guess what? Despite the challenges, despite the adversities, they found a way. They continue to fight because they had this unshakable confidence, unshakable belief system within themselves that, hey, regardless of the circumstances, right, regardless of this challenge, I'm going to find a way out. I'm going to find a way to still reach my health and fitness goals. And that's exactly what you need to do when you're faced with these, I like to say, test curveballs, right? Like if you're not working on your mindset, well, that's an issue right there. You should probably have a better morning routine. You should probably have the right form of accountability and people in your corner that's helping you have a new mindset, helping you have a new belief system, helping you have new confidence. But you also need to understand that when life is throwing you these challenges, right, the meaning that you're putting on that challenge, that's what matters the most. It has nothing to do with the challenge. I know plenty of people that, hey, unfortunately, they lost their job. But guess what, right? You have one person over here that lost their job. They went boohoo, cry me a river. And next thing you know, they got a crappy job. I know another person that actually lost their job and they actually treat it as an opportunity. Man, I have more time to focus on what I want. I can reevaluate my goals in my career, right? I can reevaluate my passion, what I actually want to do. And they use that as an opportunity, maybe to start their own business or pursue a different industry that's completely different where they've been working out for the past, 10, 20, 15, 20 years. And guess what? They see significant improvements in terms of their career, in terms of, acquiring in more wealth because they're viewing things differently. And that's what you need to do, right? So here's the cheat code, because you should by now understand that when life is throwing you these curveballs, these tests, these storms, they're just tests. That's it, right? They're just tests, and you can easily pass the test. And here's exactly how you want to pass the test, right? Think about the person that you're trying to become, the 2.0 version of yourself. And just ask yourself this, in the midst of that storm, what is the 2.0 version of yourself? What would they do? What would they think? And how would they act? Right? And that's a practice in a nutshell. That's hard to do, especially when you're dealt with this storm right now in the present moment. But once again, this is where working on your mindset. This is where meditation, this is where affirmations can transform and change your life, because you can take your step out of the present moment, and you don't need to respond or react based on emotions. If you're somebody like how I was back in the day, way back in the day when I was dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts, I was very emotional, right? And that's because I never worked on my mindset. I never worked on my internal state of, the four pillars of success, which I like to say is your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual. I only worked on my physical. So when I actually started working on my emotional, guess what? You don't actually get emotionally triggered, right? Where a lot of people, hey, they do. They get frustrated, they get upset, they feel shame and guilt and fear and anxiety and worry. You start looking at the lens a little bit different. It starts becoming a lot more fun playing the game of life when you're holding a different controller, if that makes sense. So what you need to do is when life is throwing these challenges, just sit there. Take yourself out, right? And just ask yourself, what would the best version of myself, the 2.0 version of myself, what would they do? How would they think? And how would they act, right? Going through this challenge right now. I bet you anything that's going to give you the room for success, that's going to give you the recipe in terms of what you should do next for your action steps, and that's going to help you out. So just keep this in mind, right? Like if you're somebody that is just feels like you're stuck in a rut, right? Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off. It almost feels like it's Groundhog's Day. You're kind of floating around in the wind, right? Like a leaf. Hear me out, okay? Life's going to test you. Life's going to throw curveballs. If you listen through with everything that I just recommended in terms of what to do, you're going to start passing these tests. And you're just start noticing that these challenges aren't really challenges. They're opportunities for you to grow. They're opportunities for you to level up in life. And sometimes, right, these opportunities is going to help you grow, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually as well. So guys, I really hope that you guys got a lot of value from today's episode. If you did, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know your biggest takeaway. And if you have not yet already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that if you did. As always, guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.